We start going back to, you left school at 16.
That is true.
Would you recommend that, or did you just...
Look, one of my heroes was John Lennon years ago, and he said life is what happens while you're busy making other plans, and that's what happened to me. But I sometimes think that business is a bit like what happens when you're busy making other plans as well.
So you got on with it, basically. Did you know what you wanted to do when you left school?
Yeah.
Get into music?
No, I wanted to be a rock star.
Oh, right.
But then I found out that I couldn't sing, and it all went wrong from that down there. No, I didn't really, actually. I mean, I really did mess around for the first few years of my life, and I did kind of realise my dad was right, and having a bit of money coming in.
There's very few people who leave school and know exactly what they want to do.
Well, I think that is true. But I certainly didn't know what I wanted to do. I think it's rather good not knowing what you want to do, because then you sort of, I think, you know, the thing about it, you've got to think about it. I'm never quite sure what you think about. I remember getting the yellow pages out and kind of going through things. Then rock and roll came along and I became a roadie. That's when I came to the Isle of Man.
Did it come easily to you to actually produce these shows, to be the person behind the scenes who actually puts them on, has the worry of making sure they go well?
Yeah, well, I was a worrier, that is true. But no, I mean, I don't think I planned any of it. It's just, you know, I had to earn a living. You know, later I planned things, you know, and I took opportunities when they came along. I've always taken opportunities. But I'm probably a bit more of a strategist, is that how you say it?
Strategist, yes.
Strategy.
Before the
it's a long
starts,
word for a 16-year-old.
Well,
yeah, it's a very difficult business. It was very interesting, actually. I was in at the very, very beginning, when I was designing stage sets for big rock shows in the 70s and 80s. I was in at the very beginning of a world that hadn't been invented. I mean, I literally put my hand up when Rod Stewart said, I want a really big stage with everything white, and big white curtains, and, you know, it's like that. All right? Yeah, got it? That's it.
It's more like Mick Jagger, it has to
be. Was it? Right. He's a bit more Mick, yeah.
Interestingly, you went from that career into your sushi.
Well, later I had an in-between bit where I thought I'd give it all up and go and live in a ski resort and make extreme ski films.
Extraordinary, I've had that thought as well.
Yeah, exactly. Give it all up. Yeah, I think most people did once. I mean, I actually did it for a couple of years. I thought it was, and then I sold television rights. I knew the managers of the group, so I sold television rights to rock shows. So I was a television distributor, film distributor. And then I did start here, Sushi, you're right.
Why?
Because I thought I'd run out of time. I thought I'd really... I mean, when I look back, people say, oh, you've had a really interesting life.
So it was deliberately done to earn money, was it?
It was done because I really didn't have any money. I was running out of money fast, you know. I'd got divorced and I couldn't work for anybody, and I couldn't think of anything to do, and I'd burnt a few bridges along the way, if the truth be known. And I thought, and I was in my 40s, coming out to 50, and I thought, if I don't do something now, I'm going to run out of time. And it was a really desperate moment, you know. It was a real, I really truly believe that things could have gone wrong when I was about 42, 43 if I hadn't found this niche. But I think I was ready to find the niche. I often think for older people listening who still want to do something, you know, now's your time, baby, because it... Well, it was an interesting thing with the Dragon's Den. Of course, I did the first series, so I was there right at the beginning when we didn't know there was
unknown quantity. Then no one knew how successful it would be.
Completely didn't know, and you know, and I got a call. I was approached very early on, and you know, I said, well, how much money do I have to invest? And they said, well, so £200,000 or £300,000 probably. And I thought, well, do I really want to do that? And I actually turned it down, and somebody dropped out of the pilot, or couldn't do it, or chose to do something else. And by that time, the word had got around. I was kicking myself. I thought, my God, what a missed opportunity, you know, be the famous businessman. And so they called me up. Well, I think, listen, there's none of those dragons sitting there thinking, I'm longing for this next investment. They're thinking, how am I going to look at this next part? You know, that's the truth. It's TV, isn't it? It's a show.
Yeah. Any of the ideas that you've seen that has really struck you as so off the wall, so unusual, you'd have thought?
Well, I haven't watched the most recent ones, but I think the first one we ever had, was such a good example of entrepreneurship and what can go wrong as well, because it was a baby rocker. Do you remember that one? It was a little machine that took a pram and it just made the back wheels go up and down. Rocked. I mean, such a simple idea. It was obvious. You could imagine every mother wanting one. And yet, the two guys who did it were their worst enemies. They were, you know, they were disagreeing with each other. Oh no, we can't do that.
But that's where they need marketing, isn't it? That's
well, they need marketing, they need advice, they need wisdom, they want to have
Someone
investment, they want all of that stuff, you know. But it was such a good example of a brilliant idea that we all wanted to invest in, but we couldn't because the people were too difficult. There should be a round of applause in this world for anybody who goes out and does anything. Like John, who's putting this event on I'm speaking at tonight here in the Isle of Man, you know. And you know, there should be a round of applause for that first, and then when that's calmed down, then we can criticise people. But we, as a nation, criticise people first, and then they might get a patter afterwards.
Yeah, we're not reciprocating.
And you can do things, you know, if you can find that sort of drive within you. And actually that drive, all that drive is, I think, is enthusiasm. I often say that the only thing I've got in this world is ignorance, I left school earlier, and great enthusiasm. And great enthusiasm drives enormous things.